Hi everyone, Salena Kulkarni here, and in today's little video I actually want to talk about something that seems to be flavour of the month at the moment, which is commercial real estate. And I want to share with you 3 things that I think you should consider before you kind of foray out of residential and into commercial. So number 1, the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to commercial property is this idea that if you're a business owner, it can certainly be a very attractive thing to want to own your own business premise, and there are certainly a lot of tax and cash flow implications around why that makes good sense. What I would also say to you though is it's really important if you're a business owner thinking of purchasing a commercial property to operate your business out of, that you really don't skim over the idea of the numbers needing to make sense with or without you as the tenant. At some point in the future, it's very likely that you may want to sell your business or you may want to step out of your business. If that's the case, what you need to make sure of is that the feasibility or the profit and loss on that place of doing business actually still makes sense. A lot of people will purchase offices or buildings or sites to run their business out of without any reference to whether or not it still stacks up as a good investment with or without them as the tenant. Sometimes if they're in really niche markets or in unusual buildings or so forth, it can actually end up being that you have a great asset while your business is viable and a going concern, but the minute that you move out as a tenant, it may not be quite as attractive to somebody else. The second point that I would make is that it's really important to be thinking about vacancy risk. One of the things that people don't understand about commercial is that people take longer leases than they do in a residential property. Often they want options to renew, which makes it seem like a really exciting proposition if you are looking for stable income. But what also goes with that is if a business does move out when a lease is terminated, then there can be a lot of risk associated with getting another tenant in. And I've seen plenty of places, and I've had clients with a lot of commercial property that have had to endure long periods of vacancy. What I encourage you to do as part of your due diligence is make sure that you understand the market where this commercial property that you're thinking about is located. Again, what do the vacancy rates look like? What is happening as far as infrastructure spending and development? Is this going to be an attractive proposition to another business? Because sometimes what happens is people can discount the price of commercial in order to make it a really attractive proposition to an investor, but really knowing that they're probably going to lose the tenant at some point, or there's a high tenancy risk. So be really aware of your tenancy risk and do as much as you possibly can to give yourself comfort that if you were to lose that tenant one day, that you wouldn't have a ridiculously long period of vacancy before you could fill it again. The third and final point that I want to make is in relation to getting drunk on yield. A lot of people look at the returns that you can achieve in commercial property, and it can be anywhere from 6.5% up to about 8.5% typically. Sometimes there are better deals out there, but they look at those and they get so excited about them because in contrast to residential, it seems like an amazing return. What you need to consider though is often the finance associated with lending on commercial can often be at a premium. And so let's say you even get a pretty good rate of say 5.5%. What you still need to make sure of is even at a 7.5%, 8% gross yield, does it still leave you enough of a buffer for you to feel confident that you're going to be able to cash flow that property? I mean, ultimately, wholesale or commercial property is really about trying to step outside of residential, where often the cash flow is poor, and step into a better level of cash flow. What I would say is that, don't get so caught up in that gross yield number. Focus on the net number. Focus on your cash on cash return. Focus on whether the commercial property is going to be a fit for your overall plan. Because the last thing that anybody wants is to, spend a significant amount of time, effort and money purchasing a a commercial property only to find that the profitability just isn't as good as you initially thought. They're slow to sell. Finding a prospective buyer can be, challenging. It's a smaller pool of people that you're dealing with. So before you get too excited about the sort of returns that are available in that market, you want to be considering, whether or not you've got the proper due diligence in place and it's going to fit with the rest of your portfolio from a risk point of view. Anyway, I hope you found that really useful. Please leave your comments below. I'm certainly a huge advocate for commercial property when it's done well. And yeah, look forward to chatting next time.